is good? My anniversary faithful. What is good, yo? Guys, food the war. Food a war. This is getting really interesting very quickly. Uh, it looks like we will be seeing just who is capable of stealing the heart of God the Tongue. But to be fair, it feels like one person's only going to be taking her heart the easy way, which is probably forcing her into a battle. And if she loses, she gets he gets her as a bride type of deal. I don't know how he's gonna get those conditions, like how she's going to have to, fight for that. But I think it's gonna be obvious in the blue or something. Like if you lose in the blue, rounds against me, I get you as my bride or something along those lines. But I really hope it's something more creative than that, because I just thought of that as of the time at the very end of them telling us, oh, she is going to be my bride or my bride. I figured it out one way that it could happen, and that was the one way I thought of. So hopefully the show is more clever than I am. So I have faith. But overall, this episode was interesting, but at the same time, I could see a little bit of sloppiness because now that they have all of these characters and all of them have such prestigious cooking styles and different ways that they like to change things up, it honestly felt like there was just way too many characters to pick upon and to pretty much have showcasing all of their talents in this one quick session of just dropping food back to back to back. And it definitely was hard to let one person shine more than the other. It's almost like they all shined about the same amount. So I don't know, I definitely can feel where this was a little bit lackluster in the case of third place. And I think that's just so he has a chip on his shoulder, right? Like, you can't have him going into this thing knowing he's the best competitor out of his side. So now that he's lost, it's an easier opening for him to have some ridiculous comeback where now all of a sudden he will be on the top of the top because of how much effort and work he'll put in to beat even his own people that he goes to school with and his friends. But also he has to figure out a way to practically um, snuff out anybody else who he doesn't even know, anybody that's going to be there and just have a good chance at beating him in general. So that's where my concern comes in with this is if he lost the people at his school and the people of blue are supposed to be at God Tongue's level, who was the one who actually won, right? Like actually saved everybody, in my opinion. So yeah, it's not looking too good. Plus, the big thing that I guess they really wanted to make a pun, make us really look into and understand was the fact that um, the dad, Soma's dad, has actually lost. And he didn't just lose, barely lose. He got absolutely destroyed. So that's pretty rough to see. But just more reason for us to be like, oh, then that means Soma has to step up even higher than his father and destroy the aspects of whatever his father was defeating him with. He has to now win against someone who beat his father 5-0 in the judges card. But to be fair, we don't know if the judges were paid off and stuff like that, because as we've seen a lot of these characters don't really have moral codes, right? They don't care if they win underhandedly. I think we're past that point. Like, we should be past that point in the show where we actually just see, we should actually just see them take this serious, right? Like, we shouldn't see anybody who's like that judging such a high competition thing. Disappointing because we all know how ridiculously talented this guy is, and he's been all over the globe, so all of his talents come from even just grinding, traveling and stuff like that, which makes sense that he would lose to his own like protege because he travels and has ideas that came straight out of the father's mouth practically, or at least came out of helping him. So overall, man, I don't know what to say about that moment. Seeing the dad of Soma actually lose was the most shocking thing out of this whole entire episode, because not only does he lose, they make it seem like it's to some person that's not even the guy that's at the school, right? Like, they make it some masked, unknown person, so they're clearly trying to drive home the fact that anybody in the blue preliminaries can beat someone of the level of Soma's dad. And supposedly Soma's dad was supposed to compete in it, but maybe, I guess, never did because he had other stuff come up, like raising his son with his wife or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But if that is the case, it would make sense just due to how many different things have been established throughout the show without really telling us. Like, no one actually gives us the answers. They kind of just throw us in there and expect us uh, to be confused until they feel like telling us. So overall, Food War was interesting, but like I was saying, there's some lackluster parts of having everybody go and then ranking the best person in the whole entire show, uh, who didn't just compete against God Tongue in third place. We have Aladdin in second, and the girl who I pretty much guess would go, but it wouldn't have made as much sense for her to go, and that is Megami. But I like her character. I like how she goes from losing a ton to all of a sudden beating Soma, beating every single person that wanted to compete in this. Um, sure, she might not have done it directly because it, as the way they were showing it, because this is why this is like really confusing to me, is like flexing and they're like, "Oh, you can't beat me," and they show like multiple people who went against them, kind of like they're in the same area and they lost. But I take it they all just like ate each other's food and they were being like the judge themselves. And if they would judge their foods compared to them, I think that's where this kind of was talking about. But because it was delivered in such a weird way, I feel like they kind of messed up giving us that information of why certain people were eaten and passing out almost as if it was a battle against one another and not just a scoring thing. But regardless, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes in Food War because it's been a long road, 5 seasons of this one show, and we're finally getting to like the end point of it. So we'll see how this all turns out. I hope you guys are having an awesome one. I got one more video I'm going to try to drop before I go to work, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you in the next one. So with all that being said, take care and peace.